This podcast is being brought to you by LegalYogi.com. That is legal-yogi.com.
In today's discussion, we will be answering about bankruptcy. I'm here with Gennady Braginsky of Cerbone Law Firm in Wall, New Jersey. Welcome, Gennady. Thank you so much for being here.
The pleasure's all mine.
Okay. And can you explain what the means test is and how it's conducted?
A means test basically just is a verification test that we do on our clients in order to verify which chapter they would qualify for.
I see. And
it takes into account how many dependents you have and where you live. The state you live in, every state has a different means test. It has a different threshold for how much income you can make. So, for example, New Jersey is one of the highest. Since we only operate in New Jersey at the moment, like for example, for an individual earner, he can earn up to $60,322 per year, and that changes with each dependent. So, like a household of four, for example, in New Jersey, they can earn up to $101,957 in order to qualify for a Chapter 7. Anything over that, they would have to do a Chapter 13.
Okay, so there are laws that mandate what types of...
Right, you can't make too much money and file Chapter 7, basically.
There's
also equity in your home is also something that might play a factor. If you have too much equity in your home, you might not want to file Chapter 7 because they might put you in a position where you might have to be forced to sell your home because it's considered an asset and it's considered income. And if you have too much equity in your home, which not a lot of people right now have, that might put you in a 13 as well because the equity in the home might be too much for Chapter 7.
Right, and I remember you saying that you have to be honest with your attorney so your attorney can protect your assets. So
it's important to find a good attorney who you trust, and because we have to work hand in hand to make this successful.
Yes, because if your attorney files the wrong type of bankruptcy and you have an asset that's not protected...
It might put you in an awkward position, yes.
Okay.
Or it might force the sale of a property, or it might make you surrender a vehicle. So it's very important that the client is honest with the attorney, because the more information we have, the easier it is for us to do our job properly. The less information we have, the more difficult it makes it for us, because we may overlook something, and that might be an important factor in which chapter you need to file.
And let me ask you, if there's maybe, a visitor to our website or someone listening to the broadcast that may be in danger of bankruptcy, but would like to avoid bankruptcy, do you have any advice you can give that person as to the best way to avoid bankruptcy?
Well, that's a difficult question to answer, but a lot of people, if they don't want to file bankruptcy, their only other options are to settle the debts or possibly sell off assets. If you don't, but those things aren't always easier said than done. Some creditors won't work with you. Some creditors will. Some creditors will give you 50 cents on the dollar. Some creditors won't give you anything. They won't reduce your debt at all. So, unfortunately, a lot of people are apprehensive of filing bankruptcy, but at times it is the only option, depending on their situation. But like I said, to avoid bankruptcy, the best thing to do is not to accumulate debt. But obviously, that's not
right.
That makes sense. Good advice considering the situation some people are in, and they need to feed their kids, and sometimes you have to accumulate debt in order to survive. And sometimes the bankruptcy is the best option. But the beauty of our law firm is that if it's not the best option for you, we'll be honest with you and tell you we don't think you're a good candidate. We're not chasing clients. We're a very established law firm, and we have a lot of clients, and that allows us to be honest with our clients, and we don't put people in a position where they're not. We won't file a case that we don't feel strongly will help that person.
Oh, okay. Okay. Now we have a few other questions from visitors to our website.
Okay.
The first one basically is very simple. How do I keep my stuff? His house, his car, his 401k, and his IRA.
Okay, so 401k and IRAs are not in danger when you file bankruptcy. Those are protected assets that we list on the bankruptcy as protected. As long as you're not collecting on it, they're always protected. House and cars, most of the time, unless you have an extremely luxury vehicle like a Lamborghini or a Rolls Royce, it's not in danger. It's considered necessary for you to have transportation. Houses, once again, same thing. Unless the equity is there's a lot of equity in the home, usually you have no problem keeping your house as long as you continue making payments on the mortgage.
And it
Or
sounds
if you're
it sounds
behind
like
on your
it's the
mortgage,
type
you
of bankruptcy that your attorney can file for you. He can have specific items detailed in the petition to protect those assets.
correct. Yes, most people who don't have like luxury items or don't have houses that have a lot of equity, there's no problem. The only time this comes into play is if you have like a vehicle that's like extremely expensive and it's considered a luxury item, or if your house has a lot of equity in it. Other times, you basically your house and cars are protected no matter what.
Okay, and that would make sense. If someone has a whole lot of equity in their house, why don't they just pay off their debt?
Exactly.
Right.
But for the most part, nowadays, unfortunately, very few people have any kind of equity, so that only comes up, very rarely at this point.
Okay, and here's another question from another visitor. How can I consolidate the debt? Is the debts consolidated?
Yes. For example, if you have to file Chapter 13 because of your income or other reasons, the debt is consolidated into a monthly payment. So when you pay a Chapter 13 trustee, you pay one payment, and that payment is distributed amongst your creditors by the trustee.
Okay. And we have a couple more questions here. Here's one. It says, my business is doing poorly, and am I in danger of losing my personal belongings?
It depends on the kind of business you have. So there's different, LLC, S corp, sole proprietorship. For the most part, nowadays, if you are in danger, what we do a lot of the time with people who own businesses but can't file a Chapter 11 because they're very expensive, small business owners can file a Chapter 13 or 7, a personal bankruptcy, include their business debt in the bankruptcy, and just reopen their business under a new tax ID.
Oh, okay. So there are ways around that.
There's a way around that, yes. Because for the most part, Chapter 11s are very expensive, and it's difficult for us to put a person to Chapter 11 who has a small business because the fees would be too much. And we try to work around that because a lot of the business owners that see us are small business owners, not national companies. What we can do for them is file personal bankruptcy, include their business debt in the personal bankruptcy, and then the debtor would then just have to reopen his business under a new tax ID.
Okay. And now what if it wasn't a small business, it was a well-established corporation?
Well, then we can do Chapter 11 if necessary, but a lot of the time it's not. Hold on one second. A lot of the time, filing a Chapter 11, if it's a big enough business, and like for example, Sharper Image, Tropicana, those kind of companies, most of them are national companies.
And now, are there personal belongings for someone who has a larger business that can afford, and it would make sense for Chapter 11? Are there personal belongings included, or is that a separate?
No, personal belongings are considered exempt.
Okay.
Jewelry, clothing, that kind of stuff is all exempt.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, I want to thank you for being here and for taking your time to answer our questions today. We really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
This podcast was brought to you by LegalYogi.com, providing hundreds of free legal consultations every day since 1999. Our database contains over 160,000 legal and financial professionals, and our phone line is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you would like a free legal consultation, you can call 1-800-397-1755 from any state in the U.S., and we'll be happy to provide you with a free legal consultation. Our web address and phone number are on the podcast image for your convenience, or you can simply go to LegalYogi.com. That is LegalYogi.com.